Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Institute of Child Psychology's YouTube page. My name is Tammy Shamoon, and I'm a child psychologist and the co-founder of the Institute. Today's YouTube video, we are going to talk about my 3 favorite strategies to help with anxious thoughts. And I just want to put it out there that this video is not for our really little ones. We're thinking kids who are about 9 years of age and up, so kind of our tweens and our teens. Now, before we even attempt these 3 strategies, we first want to take an opportunity to teach our tweens or teens where anxious thoughts come from, and we only do this during a connected moment. So we don't do this in the middle of them panicking, not wanting to go to school or not wanting to go to swimming lessons, or they're stressing out before they go to bed. So in a moment where we're feeling good with our kid, we can sit down and explain to them that anxious thoughts come from a part of the brain right in the center of our brain, from the amygdala. So it's right in the limbic system of the brain. It's in our feelings brain. And its job is to keep us safe. It's like a watchdog or a smoke detector. And it constantly takes in signals from the environment and is always looking for instances where we might get hurt, rejected, so either emotionally or physically hurt. So its job is to be a little bit paranoid. And so when something happens, or we're worried about something happening, or maybe we've had something bad happening, now we think it's going to happen all the time, the amygdala likes to do something called what ifing. What if? And it kind of goes through a list of all the possible things that could go wrong. And this is to protect us. Because if you think about how we evolved as a species, this was very helpful. We want to consider all the possible ways that Mother Nature might get the best of us, such as like eating a poison plant or taking the wrong path in the woods, or maybe if we don't what if, we might get lost looking for a water source. So our brain's quite adaptive with coming up with negative scenarios to keep us alive. Not always super helpful in today's society, okay? Because now our brain can make mistakes, like it assumes that because someone didn't want to sit with us at lunch, that, nobody has ever liked us in our entire lives and no one will ever want to be our friend ever again. So it exaggerates and says, what if, and comes up with all these possible ways we could get hurt. And really, this is just very protective. So your brain is doing way too good a job in keeping you safe when it's actually prohibiting you from having a good time. It's stopping you from making friends. It's stopping you from growing as a person. It's just this really overprotective guard dog that never wants to let you leave the house. So this what if is happening. So we have these strategies we want to execute, but I would like to say as well that it works better if your child has done some deep breathing or has done some exercise before trying to engage this. So we always want to kind of engage the body before we try engaging in something cognitive like this. And we also want to make sure as parents or as teachers, as therapists, that we're connected. So we acknowledge how they're feeling. We don't try to argue with their feeling. We want to say, yeah, I can see you're really anxious, or I see you're really fearful. That must be really overwhelming for you. Or, everyone gets anxious sometimes. There's nothing wrong with you, kiddo. So kind of that first step is, we want to ensure their body is activated, create, deep breathing or some movement to kind of get through some of those stress hormones. We want to validate how they're feeling. So just to acknowledge that this is really, really hard for them and you believe them so they don't feel shame around their anxiety. So our first strategy is something I like to call thought detective. Since our brain likes to think when we're anxious in extremes, these are called generalizations or catastrophic thinking. If we even have a small fear about something, our brain will exaggerate the outcome to avoid us getting hurt. It's kind of to keep us safe. It's like an insurance policy. So if we're worried about, say, being rejected because maybe someone didn't sit with us at the lunch table, or someone teased us one day about what we were wearing on the bus, our brain might say, nobody likes me, versus maybe some people are mean and some people don't like me, but I also have really good friends as well. That would be probably a more healthy thought. So when we have a kiddo that's catastrophizing like this, we can use this strategy of thought detective. So what we can do is have your child make 2 columns. And in one column, write down all the times where that thought was unequivocally true. And the other one were times where it wasn't true. So we write times it was true, times it wasn't true on a piece of paper, and we're brainstorming. Chances are the list where times it wasn't true is going to be longer than the times that it was. So for instance, If your child is saying nobody likes me, and then you write this list, you can talk about all the times they got invited to a birthday party and all the times someone sat with them, or all the times they had sleepovers with other kids, versus the times maybe they were rejected by someone in their class or someone in a sporting event or someone in the neighborhood. So we're teaching our child that just because something has happened doesn't mean it's going to happen every single time. And we're kind of collecting that evidence to show that just because something is possible doesn't mean that it's true in every circumstance. It's also worth noting that our brain encodes negative information 5 times stronger than positive information. So the times we're rejected, hurt, and scared feel much bigger and more prominent than the times we were successful, brave, or accepted by our peers. So number 2, this is our second strategy, focus on the facts. So we want our kids to focus on the things they know for sure, not what might be true or what could happen, but what is 100% true. Worries are not facts. They are thoughts that their brain comes up with. So it's explaining to your tween or your teen that it's just the brain what-ifing them again. Tell them to take a big breath and focus on the things they know to be 100% true about the situation. This might be a good time to discuss with your child, your teen, your tween, the difference between possibility and probability. Just because something could happen does not mean it's going to happen. Just because something is possible doesn't mean that it's probable. But our brain makes this mistake all the time and treats possibility the same as probability. So we can try this mantra with our kids. Big bad things are unlikely and small bad things are manageable. So what we can do is have them pay attention to what they know for sure. Chances are they don't know for sure that they're going to get hurt. You don't have a crystal ball. There's no way of knowing for sure if someone is going to reject them or make fun of them. But what they might know 100% for sure is that in the past, bad things don't always happen because we think they're going to happen. Your friend might, your kiddo might be scared to go for a sleepover, but they know that their friend likes them and they like their friend. There might be a situation where your child knows that they're really good at math when they go to school. 100% they know this to be true. What they don't know is that they're going to get an F on a test in English. So again, we want to focus on what we know to be absolutely true, not the things that just might be true, because we, again, do not have a crystal ball. And this is a great way is to kind of hit this home, is that probability versus possibility. Our third and final strategy is something I call worst case scenario. And this strategy seems non-intuitive, but please bear with me because it works. When a child, or adult's brain for that matter, is swirling and whirling with this plethora of endless negative possible outcomes, all the bad things that could happen, there's something really helpful we can do to give the brain a perceived sense of control, is to simply give it a really hard job, which is going to engage the rational part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. So what we're going to do is focus on the worst case scenario and make a plan. That way, if your child, your teen, your tween can handle the worst case, they can handle any other what if that could come along. And I notice this with all my adult clients, my teen clients, my kid clients, the brain starts to relax. The brain is like, if I can handle that, I can handle anything. So an example of this I always give is a teenager that I worked with many years ago, about 10 years ago, who was going on a class trip to another province, and his mom couldn't come with him. And his worst case scenario, there were many things he was scared of. He was scared to get on the plane. He was scared about the cab ride to the airport. He was scared of a lot of things. But the worst case was him getting lost in Montreal. Now, we live in Alberta, Canada, which is primarily English speaking, and he did not speak French very well. So we said, okay, buddy, now let's pretend you do get lost. What are you going to do? So we came up with a plan over about an hour. And that plan included knowing how to ask for help in French. So we practiced that. We looked up if 911 worked the same way in Montreal as it did in Edmonton. We learned that all people in Montreal speak English as well as French. we wrote down his mom's cell phone number, or we made a plan that he was going to write his mom's cell phone number in all the tags of his clothes and his shoes. He was going to memorize the name of all of the supervisors and have their cell phones. In case he was by himself, he could call one of the volunteers on the trip. And he also memorized the address of the hotel he was staying at. And these are actually things he also wrote down and said he was going to put in his wallet that he always carried with him. So this is just such a great strategy that even when I get anxious about something, I just go to being like, okay, I need to make a plan. And then I feel like once my brain can do that, it's like has purpose and it has intention. And it's like, okay, I did something productive and now I can relax. And the brain really just wants to feel like it has strategies in place to keep us alive. We hope you enjoyed this video. I would love for you to check out our video on the anxious brain, and also when your child is scared to try new things. Those two videos would be very helpful for you in our anxiety series.